That's a smart thing to do.
There are two things that I love more than anything else in this world. And in order, they are crosstalk and dead air.
And we will get both today.
Multiple times, hopefully.
Yes.
All right, ready?
Someone's playing Final Fantasy. I don't know if they're ready.
I'm always ready. I'm paying attention. Trust me.
Varin's never ready. What are you talking about?
This is gonna be our cold open now.
Mm-hmm.
Just cold open it and then play the theme song after this.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Hi, hello. Welcome to Dear PB, a podcast where I hopefully help you become a better marathon organizer, but probably won't. I'm Corva May, but you can call me May, or she, or her.
I'm Swoos. You can call me SWC, or he, or they.
And joining us from multiple places where marathons happen, I guess, it's a bunch of people who will now introduce themselves in an order.
I'll go first because I feel like I'm important. My name is Ozmourn. I go by he, him. You can call me Oz, or just whatever your heart feels like calling me. I'm not picky.
All right, Jim.
I'm Helix. You can call me they, them, or Helix.
3-time returning champ Helix, I believe.
True. 2-time returning champ. I'm going to get a third title today.
No, because you were on the live show.
Yeah, that was my second appearance, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, but this is your third experience.
Yeah, so this will be my third championship.
Yeah, 6 more and you get a free one.
Let's go.
Hi, I'm going to interject here. My name is Varin. I'm they, them, and you can call me Rin or whatever. It's fine.
All right, whatever. It's fine.
Thank you.
So we had an idea a little while ago, and that was to get all the people we know that do marathon organization together, and then kind of walk through the entire process of what and give advice for every step of marathon organization. And of the 9 people that we invited to do this, half of them were like, "No, I'm busy." Largely doing marathon related things.
Yeah.
So
imagine that.
Yeah, it's crazy. But we do have half the people we invited, the cooler half. Don't tell the others I said that. And we're going to talk about what goes into making a marathon. So that way, if you're confused about what goes on behind the scenes, or you don't really know how to take that first step, then we can impart our wisdom onto you. And also, we don't have to take any questions, which is nice.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So where do we want to start in the marathon process? At the very, very beginning, or we already have an idea and we're taking submissions, or where?
Yeah, so I guess the first place would be all right, you have an idea, something happened, and you want to do something to support it, or or something regular.
Or you
it's probably new.
Or you have a silly theme in your head.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Not every marathon needs to really benefit an organization. You could just do one if you want.
You can absolutely do marathons for fun. So, honestly, to answer the question, you have an idea. Great. From there, you have to figure out, hey, how am I going to actually make this happen? And so what you do is you gather a bunch of friends and you go, all right, collectively, what is our skills? Who's good at data organization? Who's good at writing stuff on social media? Who's good at tech? Who's good at wrangling volunteers? And you take all your powers and you put them together. And then you start the actual process.
And then you run the marathon.
Yeah, exactly.
If you've ever seen a heist movie, the part of every heist movie where they're assembling the team. It's like that.
Yeah. You put all of your skills together and you become the Power Rangers.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like the Avengers.
That's that's the overarching idea is you and a bunch of your friends have an idea that you want to hold on an event, and then you pool together your skills and resources, and then you go, okay, what can I do from here? But that might seem really vague and ambiguous because you're like, what skills and resources do I even need to run a marathon?
There's so many things you would need.
So in order to
name one.
I've suddenly forgotten every skill ever.
Understandable.
Yeah, that's fair. In order to run a marathon, we first have to ask, what is a marathon? No, I'm not doing that.
No.
Is a
Who
marathon?
is a marathon?
Who is a marathon?
Whomst is a marathon.
Who are the Mythbusters?
They say every man is a marathon.
Where are your fingers?
So the most important thing to always start out with a marathon is what I always tell people is to come up with some kind of catchy like name for it or whatever, and then immediately go to Twitter and find out if the @ is available. Trust me.
True.
Trust me.
That's a
Because
good
if you
one.
wanna advertise it and make it a series, you need to lock in that name and idea ASAP. So hey,
Yeah.
Twitter, social
Well,
media is
Or
yes.
important.
trademark it as soon as possible.
Trademark
I
it.
just
Specifically,
looked it up.
that's for your organization. The name of
Yes.
your specific event, it could be whatever.
Yes.
At Cool-a-thon is taken, so you cannot name your marathon
Yeah.
You
Cool-a-thon.
cannot.
Sorry.
For example, if you were like, I want to name my marathon the Dear PB Podcast, you'd be out of luck because we already have Dear
Yeah.
PB Pod.
You're out of luck.
Darn.
I'm gonna be honest with
This-
you. When you said Dear PP Podcast, for some reason in my head, I thought deer as in like the animal. I
Mhm.
don't know
We
why.
have thought about doing a bonus episode where we just talk about deers for like an hour and call it Dear PB.
Deers
Dear
and
PB.
peanut butter. Dear
Are you
PB.
gonna shout Deer Force at the end of the episode?
Maybe.
No,
We are the
that's-
Deer Force.
you
Are you
should.
gonna
are,
play,
yeah.
During that episode, you need to play Deer, a deer simulating game. You have to do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there one?
Yes, it's on GDQ this year too. It's just a
Oh,
deer
man.
simulator.
Oh yeah, no, that's it's in Fast as Furious as well.
There sure is.
We've made it
That's-
7 minutes
Alright.
into our podcast before going off topic. It's a new
Alright.
record.
That's a new.
That
is
is a new.
record.
That is a new record for us. I'm very proud of
Yeah.
all of us.
That's the furthest we've gone before going off topic. Good work, everyone.
You believe it?
To get us back on track, the second most important
Aw.
thing is to have a place to organize. So a lot of people, like, if you want to just do something like small within a sub community, like you just want to do like a marathon of like Sonic games, or you want to do a marathon of Mario games or whatever, it's
I
okay
think they're
to
called rhythm
organize.
games.
Huh?
I think the term's rhythm games, not Sonic games.
Oh.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Speed
So
games.
if you want to organize within like a specific sub-community Discord, that's okay. But if you ever intend to actually hold an event of your own, having your own like meeting space, like Discord space, is a good idea.
Yeah.
Also, because it
Mhm.
will get very hectic if you start to put things together in a friend Discord. It will get very out of hand very quickly, and then whenever you grow big enough, or if you decide to grow big enough to mitigate it somewhere else, it's gonna be hard to migrate. It's gonna be hard to migrate to another space and
Yeah.
get everybody moved from where you
Yeah.
built that other space.
I have two examples of not doing this well, and that is when we put on our first marathon for PSR Diversity. We just did it out of our team Discord, but we also had commentators from outside, and so then our team Discord, which was very much meant to be for only team members, I had to like do all this role management stuff to make sure people only had the right things, and it was like just awkward the entire time. And then for the first Barrier Blitz event, which is not really a marathon, it was more of like a tournament style thing, but it was run out of the Switch Pokemon speedrunning server, and that was also another thing because it was a lot of work on my part as a Switch mod, not as a tournament organizer, even though I like kind of was on both sides of that. But just make your own Discord; they're free.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is literally $3.99. Make your
You
own
also really want to
meeting
like.
space.
I'm sorry, Varin. What were you saying?
No, $3.99 free real estate. Make your own
Yeah.
Discord.
Yeah, and so like one thing that you really got to focus on is definitely how exactly you're going to organize your own Discord when it comes to this. I've seen, I'm not going to name any names obviously, but like I've seen marathons that have like this channel is for restreamers, this channel is for hosts, this channel, like they have a specific channel for each specific role. And they're incredibly organized in the way they do, and they have archives like past events. It's stuff like that that's like, and really organized, and you can see like a very clear hierarchy of what's supposed to happen, right? And then there are other marathons that literally have one general channel, and that is it. And when you're recording,
Yeah.
they're just
my
like,
God.
okay, go live. You don't even have to show. You don't have to join like a voice call or anything like that. Just go live. We'll pull you up, and we'll text you when
Oh.
you're ready to go on. And
That's rough.
for sometimes stuff like that works, not the best way possible, but it works sometimes. Although I do really feel like if you're trying to go for really high quality, really good production value, and like a better experience for your runners and for your volunteers, try and put a lot of effort into the way that you organize your Discord, and also like make sure that everything needs to be where it's going to be, and all that jazz. because having everything in one channel for quite literally every single person involved it gets clogged pretty easily. Yeah.
At the bare minimum, I think you should have a room for staff. You should have a room for runners, or like runners and commentary is also fine. You should have a voice channel for live that only staff can drag people into, and a voice channel for your green room voice channel. That's like the bare minimum channels I think you should have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So,
Yeah.
go ahead, Helix.
Also make heavy use of pins. Seriously, they're
Yeah, pins are
super
good.
duper helpful. Pin your
Pins
runner
are-
guide, pin your volunteer guide, pin your schedule, pin your everything. Not your everything. Like don't
We'll
overdo
explain
it.
what
But
those are soon. Don't
pin your
worry.
important
Yeah.
What's the schedule?
Spoilers. What's the schedule?
Spoilers.
Schedule.
What's a schedule? So
I don't know what that is.
now you have your Twitter, now you have your Discord, and then you go,
Good work.
what else am I supposed to do with this? So next, the three most important things that need to come together all at once is when, where, and what. So you need to come up with date ideas. You need to think of, when would be a great time to put this event on? You have to think of like, what are you doing it for? Are you raising money for charity? Is this just for fun? Is it just for one specific like event? You see one thing happened in the world and you want to hold a one-time benefit thing. Like, what do you want to do with it? And then where you have to think about, well, obviously, like 99% of people like stream stuff to Twitch, but some people stream to multiple platforms, or sometimes they just want to do maybe just record something and put it on YouTube and make it a series. Like, it doesn't necessarily need to be like always on Twitch. It should be on Twitch, but I guess it really like it depends, because I've seen people hold marathons, like smaller ones, on YouTube too. So like it's obviously like your media of choice. But those are like the three most important things after that, because you have your social media, you have your Discord where you're going to start, organizing, and then you have to actually think about what can you tell people when you start to organize.
To extend that, not only like what platform, but what channel.
Yes, true. So on this, I guess on the same vein of the Twitter and the Discord, is if you're going to stick with the theme, if you're going to make something new and you're not going with the community thing, you also want to snatch up that Twitch channel. Like if you come up with a cool, snazzy name, snatch it up on Twitch too. That is important, because I don't think it really will ever happen, but if somebody like decides to make up a name on Twitch and it's just so close to what you wanted, but it's not quite exactly it, and you have to name yourself something slightly different, it gets kind of confusing with all of your social media tags or Discord tags or what have you being different than your Twitch channel. So definitely Helix makes a good point. Snatch up that Twitch channel also.
Also, in terms of when, make sure, or at least try your hardest to have a unique weekend for your marathon.
There is
or
no
day
such
or
thing as a.
whatever.
It's almost
hard,
impossible to do anymore.
Yeah.
Try.
Yeah, you will inevitably overlap something, but definitely like still you do need to look, check Angus, check, other marathons you know about. Don't overlap GDQ.
Yeah, Helix.
Just don't.
Yeah, you can check like Oangus, you can check Hararo, you can check her on Twitter, you can ask your friends about what other larger events are happening around certain times. So like back when I was staff for Power with Pride, we would always have to not only plan around SGDQ, we would have to plan around several other Pride themed marathons or other people who wanted to hold events in June, because that was when the summer event would happen. So you have to think about when other big marathons are going on, and if there's anything that is similar to your cause, if you are raising money for a cause that might be holding an event too close to yours, because there is such a thing as spreading the community too thin for one cause. It is absolutely a thing. If too many people are trying to run too many marathons for a cause at one time, you're all going to get incredibly low numbers. If that's what your goal is to raise money for charity.
Yeah, Helix, you want to talk about why I can't go to Midwest Speed Fest this year?
Because we are aligned with a convention, and the convention had those dates well before.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a matter of two events kind of having their plans out like a year before, but not sharing them publicly until it was too late. So it's really not anyone's fault, but it's just really unfortunate.
That's a thing, though, is that if that happens to you, feel free to just reach out to other like marathon organizers and try to coordinate weekends so that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Like I've Midwest Speed Fest has accidentally scheduled on the same weekend as Speed Docs, I think 3 or 4 times in a row. And so I like it eventually just went and reached out like, hey, I am so sorry we keep accidentally scheduling over each other. Let's open a line of communication so we don't keep doing this.
Right.
Yeah.
And like most marathon organizers will be very friendly and be like, yeah, absolutely, I'd love to do that, because we don't want to butt heads with anybody else either. Mm-hmm. So we don't know when your event is if you don't tell us, and if we're not already having a line of communication, then like we don't know we're accidentally butting heads with you.
Yeah, just go look at that. Like both Hararo and Oengus both have like marathon calendars you can look at.
Yep.
HORARO.org and OENGUS.io. Extremely normal website names.
And then as soon as you have that weekend locked in, make sure all of your staff are cool with it. Make sure they're all available. As soon as you have that weekend locked in, tell people about it. Claim that weekend.
Yeah.
Don't announce before you're ready. Make sure you're ready. But once you are, do it.
Yeah. So once you have your dates in lock, everything else is in order. So something else you have to think about in the timeline of events, you want to give yourself as much time from when you start planning to when the marathon execution is. So what is today's date? 5/8. So if I'm looking at a calendar and I am starting a brand new marathon, today is, May the 8th, 2022. I would realistically, starting with a fresh new team of people, I would want 3 to 4 months between when I start planning, which would be right now.
3 to 4 months?
Yes. So 3 to 4 months.
All right.
So if I'm
assuming people don't have that much experience.
So that's exactly why I'm saying this. If
Pokemon looking moment.
Oh my God.
The blessed Swoosh would, So this is assuming you have zero marathon experience. This is assuming you're starting from scratch. This is assuming that you need time to put your stuff together. You need time to find out when you're going to open your submissions, when you're going to close them, how long it's going to take you to go through them, how long it takes you to get your tech together, your layouts. You want to give yourself 3 to 4 months to be able to plan all these things out, because it is a lot more work than you think it is. If you're a veteran in the scene, or you're semi-veteran, or whatever the case is, if you have some experience, yeah, you might have a shorter timeline. But if you're looking to start a new marathon series, or you want to raise money for a cause that doesn't get a lot of, attention, and make it a longer, bi-yearly or yearly event, you do want to give yourself some buffer time to start planning. There is so much that goes into planning that people don't think about until it's too late. And case in point, Speed Stuff for Trans Lives had a less than 5-week turnaround. We did really great, and we're all veterans in the scene, but it was a crunch. We had most of our resources actually already ready, and we were still doing things to the wire. We had things that we were still finishing 3 days before the event went on. So if you're starting from scratch and you have some time to plan out in advance, start looking at dates that are 3 or 4 months from now, that if you have time to do it. Now, if you want to start a marathon to do a cause for something like right now, ask your friends, please. Look at the veteran marathon people in your scene and go, hey, I would love to collab with you to do this thing. Because if you have no experience, it's going to be really hard for you to start something on your own. If you want to do something in like a 2 to 3 week turnaround, it's really, 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 really hard. So I don't say 3 to 4 months as in like that's the like holy time, but it's a good ballpark for starting an event if you want to make it for charity and have time to plan things out.
I think you're right, but also the last event that I just threw, I planned in 2 weeks.
But you have experience,
which was also an extremely healthy thing for me to do, and definitely a good thing that I did,
for
and
the
not
mental.
extremely stressful.
There's a little asterisk in Varin sentences. Plan out 4 months in advance unless you're corporate mate.
Yeah. So
unless you don't value your own mental.
I'm actually on the other side of this for Midwest Speed Fest. We're giving ourselves like 4 months, and we made sure to do this because last event we didn't give ourselves enough time. And also you will inevitably have ideas in the lead up to the event, and like, oh, what if we did this? That would be cool.
Yeah.
And you will forget things, especially if you're new. It's not something to feel bad about. Everybody forgets things. Even I forget things. I've been organizing marathons for almost 5 years, and I forget
ADD
things.
squad, let's go.
So extra time is just amazing to have always.
I just put out the runner layouts for the marathon I'm putting on next weekend, and I Swift DM'd me and was like, hey, is there space for the webcam? And I was like, well,
webcam?
Guess I gotta send up more of those. Oops.
Thank you for making a bingo layout just for me.
You're welcome. We'll talk about layouts later. That's my actual true area of expertise.
That's the fun part that I know nothing about.
I know way too much about it.
Ooh, layouts.
I know nothing about art.
Okay.
All right, so you've announced your thing.
Yeah, and you have your date 4 months in advance. Let's just say, let's say 4 months to the day, and you're going to hold your event on September 8th. It starts on a Thursday. Is this logical? No, probably not. But we're just going to assume 4 straight months. So you announce it today, and your marathon is in 4 months. So
no, you can't say when we record it. That gives away too much of the how the sausage is made of the podcast.
How the podcast is made. You don't need to know that.
You didn't say this.
Yeah,
you
did.
Sometime in September.
Anyway,
we forgot about it.
Okay. Anyway, so sometime in September, just assume 4 months from whatever day that you're listening to this. Assume 4 months from you're listening right now. So in that timeline, you need to break up a few things, which is going to be your submissions. So you need to have a variance of 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how long you want your event to be. If it's just a weekend, if it's a week long, if you want to do 12 hours a day or not. It will depend if you want to have how long you want to have your submissions open. The average is usually about 1 to 2 weeks. Some events will do an entire month, depending on how far in advance they plan their event. But you want to think about when you want your submissions open, how long you want them to be open. You need to think about how many games you want people to submit. So I know that Oangus as a platform in particular, you can submit the same game, but still multiple categories at the same time. For other events that host their own marathon submissions on their own website, such as GDQ, have different allowances for games and category submissions. It just depends. And then from there, you want to think about when you want to have volunteer submissions open. So, or volunteer applications, I should say. So you're going to need volunteers, like hands down, like you're gonna have to.
You will never have enough hosts.
You think that with your group of friends, even if there's 5 or 6 of you, you'll be able to cover a lot of things, even if you're doing only 12 hours a day on a weekend. But it's a lot to have somebody sit down and do something for 12 hours. You think you can do it, and you think it sounds really fun when you stream yourself for 12 hours. But there are a lot of factors.
Not fun.
Yeah, like going on during a marathon, that like it's a much different than just sitting and streaming in your own personal stream for 12 hours. So you're going to want to open volunteer submissions, and you probably want to open those about anywhere from a month and a half if you're looking at a 4-month time frame before your event goes on. So you have not only time to pick people have time to ask off of work, rearrange schedules. You have time to teach people things if they're new to volunteering. Et cetera, et cetera. And then also you have to think about what time period you would want to review your submissions. So you would want to assemble a games committee team, a team of people who will review the submissions. You can think about everybody watches every submission you get. You could divvy the submissions between several people. Whatever you choose to do is fine, but you need to think about also how long you need to take to review submissions, because then from there, you have to think about a games list and or a schedule.
Scheduling. I love scheduling.
That's the
it's
fun
like my favorite
part.
It's the fun part. It's a lot of math in a way.
How many people should you have on your games committee?
It
depends on the size of your event.
Bingo.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
If you're doing like a weekend event, I think you should have. You could do it with anywhere from 2 to 5. I think is reasonable.
2 to 5.
If you're doing like a couple 12-hour days, I've done it with 2. I've done it with 1.
I've met people. I'm sorry, Varin, continue.
I was gonna say you can change your mind on how many people are on your games committee up until when you need to start doing them. So like if during your submission process for like, just to say you have your submission open for 2 weeks and you start out with a trickle of submissions, but then you start looking and you're getting like 100, 150, 200, and you only have 2 people on your team, you can reach out to the other staff members in your group, or maybe even just other people in your community, and say, hey, we have 200 submissions and there's 2 of us. Can you please help?
No, 100.
Yeah, I run a lot of
100 submissions per person is reasonable. Right.
I run a lot of intra-org events, and so like the process is a little bit different in that we're getting fewer submissions, and it's not as like questionable if I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna crank out a schedule.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, generally, you want more than one person weighing in on things.
For sure.
But when I've done not PSRD stuff, we'll have like 4 or 5 people. We'll divvy up the VODs. You don't need to watch all of the VODs in full. I think that's a ridiculous expectation to watch them all the way through. But I think you should check them all out. at least like watch a little bit, just get a general sense of the vibe of the stream. A couple things to look out for when you're watching a submission VOD is the main thing. We mentioned this in the podcast before, but if the runner is like super negative on themselves, that is a big red flag.
Yeah,
in my opinion, because the worst thing I think you can do in a marathon run is just become super negative, because it kills the entire energy of the entire like stream. It just becomes really awkward, and then people don't want to watch, and then people don't donate because they're not watching.
Yeah, and I feel like one thing that I hear all the time is just like if you don't have like any confidence in your submission, or if you don't believe that your submission is like a good submission, then how do you expect like the organizers to think the same? You know what
exactly,
I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
What you submit is a reflection of yourself, so you want to put your best foot forward. So like when you're watching these submissions, you have to think, is this somebody who I want to watch?
Exactly.
Yeah, and like I've seen like people on games committee. Like I was on a games committee for a marathon called Varin, and during that games committee, I'm not going to obviously mention who, but like we rejected a run because the runner straight up said in their submission video like that this run is a bad run, and I'm like, if you think it's a bad run, then why would you submit it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like I know the two sides of world record runs are terrible run and peak of human performance, and there's no in between. But like, you gotta consider your audience when you're submitting a video. Because this isn't about submitting videos; it's about reviewing videos. And I will say, I lost my train of thought entirely there. Holy crap!
Yep.
If you're like being like a little bit tongue in cheek about it, just being like you mess up some trick, you're like, God, I'm so bad, like as like a joke, but it's not like a oh, I killed the whole energy of everything. That's okay. Like that's fine.
People can generally tell if you're
exactly.
If you're being like lighthearted with being hard on yourself, or if you're like genuinely upset. Like there is a clear. It is obvious in most cases when that happens.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like it's very vibes based. Like, do you have a positive vibe? I think that is the most important thing to look for in.
If you just seem chill and are also not saying bad words.
That's the other one. Is if as we've said on this show before, don't be racist. Somebody's racist in their VOD. Don't take it. We've gotten those.
I've seen similar.
I've had
you go to open someone's video and they're just talking about stuff you should not be talking about. Yes, like auto reject.
Yep, I have been organizing marathons since 2014, and I cannot tell you the amount of times that I have had to blacklist and ban somebody because they submitted a video to me that has a oopsie whoopsie in it that isn't very, oh no, I slipped up and said the wrong thing, is very blatant, and it's like,
when you're holding a whole conversation about stuff like that, it's like, all right, goodbye.
Yeah, so write down in your notebooks. Write down in your notebooks.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, write down in your notebooks. Okay, so rule number 1: don't say casual hate speech in your submission video.
Don't be racist.
Or also no competitive hate speech in your video either.
Yeah, so that's like those are just really good things to look out for when watching like videos. Like, are people being generally positive, not down on themselves? Are they relatively entertaining? Like, are they not saying hate speech or slurs in their video? Things like that. Those are big things when you're skimming videos to look out for. Those are like super important. And not every video needs to have commentary. Some people will submit to your event at the last second with a PB video, and sometimes it is just like that. If you are a very like, if you're holding a larger scale event that needs to focus more on commentary, then obviously that's like some parameter that you need to watch out for. But if you're just starting out, people are so enthused in this community to just submit to whatever event is new. They don't care if it's your first time in. They're just like, hey, marathon, and they submit. So it's not necessarily every time that you hold an event you need to like hawk eye for commentary, but commentary is someone submitting with their commentary is always a bonus.
Yes, so, that's what I was gonna say. It's just like the way that we kind of like when I was on the games committee, the way we kind of handled it was like we would rate it, and we rate it on like a scale of 1 to 10, right? Of how much we wanted, how good we think that this, in our opinion, obviously, in the individual opinion of the person reviewing that run, how good you think that run would be for the specific marathon. And I put down an automatic 3 points if your run had commentary, because like commentary significantly improves, and the games committee like knows that. Like like any games committee that you're submitting to knows that commentary significantly improves the quality of your run, because you're actually explaining what's going on, and your personality can be very entertaining. Because there are like a lot of stuff. There were a lot of submissions about games that I actually really loved, and stuff that I thought the game itself and the spirit itself looked cool, but like I just don't know what's going on because no one's explaining it to me. And like I don't, without commentary, you also don't really have a good measure of how entertaining the runner could or could not be on stage,
So on the,
are we saying like you need to have? Are you all saying that you like want to see like games like specific comedy tracks, commentary tracks?
You gotta be funny. You gotta make you laugh.
You gotta be funny, yeah. Or specifically that like you just need like they just need to be like talking and be entertaining, because that's more what I care about. Like I don't need you to like have recorded specific commentary on your game, because I assume that you and your couch can figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
But I do need you to talk.
No, yeah, that's what I mean. I would like you to talk and like give commentary on the game. Like it's just like a commentated submission, from coming from the side of the games committee. A commentated submission like is a lot more obviously appealing than a PB submission. If you're a small marathon, obviously maybe like that's not a huge concern, especially if you get a low amount of submissions. But like in my head, like commentating so that the audience can understand what's going on in your submission, or so that the games committee can understand what's going on at the very least. It's in my opinion, it's like an immediate red, and there's an immediate green flag.
So on the notion of having commentary, Helix just implemented something into their marathon submissions. If you would like to talk about that.
Oh, please, yes. Okay, so I posted about this on Twitter, but if you didn't see, something I recently implemented like last week for my next marathon is a commentary example field. So like we mentioned how a lot of the times people, especially if they're submitting last minute, will just drop in a PB VOD and send it over. But especially for larger marathons, commentary is really important. I mean, it's half of a marathon run. You have to be entertaining and talking in some way.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And so we added a commentary example field, so where it doesn't have to be like an example of the same game that someone submitted, but just proof that you can commentate. It can be a past marathon run, it can be a past submission video, just proof that you can do marathon style commentary. And I would love to see more events implement that, because it makes it easier for the runners, because they don't have to go and record a new submission video to prove they can do commentary for X game or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it easier for games committees, because if we encourage more people to submit at least some example of commentary, then events that really need to start caring about that don't have to just guess. Because I have been on multiple games committees, like at least once every time there's a run that we look at and go, this is really cool, but I have no idea how their commentary is.
Yes, exactly.
And then the games committee ends up having to make a guess, essentially.
Yeah. I like that idea, because I will be dead in the ground before I record a commentary track specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I hate doing it. I will always just use, I'll just always use marathon bots, I think.
Oh, I tend to like. Here's the thing. Like for me, I just record one marathon commentary thing. Or I just record one, and I just keep submitting that one until eventually one marathon accepts it, and then I use that marathon VOD for all the rest, and then the cycle continues until I find the perfect marathon performance, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna stick with this one.
That's
me, I
what I
honestly don't personally care that much about like if you're if you submit a PB VOD and you're not like explaining the game necessarily because it's like a PV VOD, but you're like talking about it like you're talking about it like as things come up and like clearly know what's going on and are like generally entertaining. I think that's fine. I don't personally need a like specific marathon track just because I don't feel like I wouldn't want to ask that of everyone because it's like a ton of work and a lot of people truly hate doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
if you just
kind of depends on the event too.
if somebody submits to your event and they have a PB vid, but in the comments, right, yo, I don't have good commentary, but I can promise somebody from my community will show up. That's fine with me, because not everybody who is ever going to submit to your event ever is going to have good commentary. You also have to think about language barriers, that there are a lot of people in different countries and different communities that might want to submit to your event but don't speak your language, but would be still more than happy to participate in your event, and will find somebody that can speak your language who will show up to commentate. So like, if somebody submits to your event and like doesn't have a commentary track or doesn't have a previous marathon video, but just submits a PB and says, yo, I would love to bring my community into this, that is more than acceptable for me. Exactly. As long as they actually show up.
I would honestly personally prefer somebody who like submits a PV VOD and they're like really like fun and like entertaining during it, than somebody who submits the driest commentary VOD of their lives.
I mean, dry commentary is not good commentary, though.
No, it's bad.
That's true.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think commentary tracks for the sake of commentary tracks are like not as valuable to me as like I'm like always a little bit more interested in how somebody like commentates in the or like how many somebody speaks in the moment versus how somebody speaks after the fact.
Yeah. So just because somebody submits something to your event that is very good recorded does not mean they're going to do well live. There is quite a bit of a difference between somebody sitting at their computer during just having OBS and recording versus like interacting with people, especially if you are going to do a charity event and you do have to have posts cut into to say, hey, do I have time for donations, or they have to find time to say, hey, this is a great time for donations, things like that. Not everybody is good at that, and it is okay for somebody to submit to your event and be like, hey, I don't have great commentary, but I can promise somebody will come and commentate for me. Finger guns.
Yeah, I think I've maybe talked myself less liking commentary tracks in the course of this. And I already wasn't positive on them.
It's very interesting because I've been doing this for, 2022? So I've been doing this for 8 years, give or take now. And it used to be that like not a lot of people did commentary videos. Everybody submitted their PB, and most of the time the community was still small enough 8 years ago that most people who even just submitted to marathons, they were your friends. There were people in your own communities, and there wasn't a lot of community intersection. And you knew they had good commentary. But now we have this giant open speedrun community where there's so many more people than there used to be, and you are taking a shot in the dark. And now the trend is people do want commentary videos. They want some kind of indication that, hey, you will be entertaining live. But we also need to be considerate of the fact that not everybody is confident in doing that. I do a various amount of speedruns. My shortest speedrun is 12 minutes and 21 seconds. My longest speedrun is 11 hours and 13 minutes. Guess which one I'm good at commentary on? It's not the short one, it's the long one, because I'm not good at saying things very rapidly while I'm trying to execute them. So it is okay for us to accept that some people aren't good at commentary, and they will have somebody in. So like, don't set your expectations super high for really great, amazing commentary videos. You're going to have to compromise on people saying, hey, I'm going to have to bring in a commentator, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Bringing in commentators is sometimes really good. Yeah. Because like then the runner can just focus on the run, and the person who is good at talking can do the talking.
Yeah. Being transparent about that is also really good. So you don't kind of make the impression that you're going to be perfect in every way, because obviously you're not going to be, but just kind of letting the organizers know that you're going to have someone else is always great, so they don't have to take the gamble on, is this person going to be good for our event.
I've specifically had people request that I commentate for them specifically so that they didn't have to talk.
Yep, wow, I've done that for many people. I've learned runs just to commentate them for people because they are not confident in their live commentary.
I'm literally doing that for GDQ this year.
Yeah, if you're somebody who doesn't doesn't enjoy commentary or is camera shy, here's my advice to you. You should make friends with somebody who is ADHD and can't shut the fuck up.
Oh man.
That's my role for everyone else.
I've been in there too. I ran Superliminal a couple last month.
I've never heard of that game before. Could you enlighten me on what it is?
Really? So it's this cool game, and it's got a lot of cool runners. Yeah. But I ran it as a backup for a marathon. Yeah. And I'd never run the game in a marathon before.
Yeah, I remember.
I kind of just went off with commentary. and I did not shut up for the 25 minutes.
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
So,
I love doing that.
I was, and it was like, I felt like it was really good commentary. So it's just like, if you can get someone like that where they just won't shut up in a productive manner, that's perfect.
Okay, that's a pretty good caveat.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I am surprised that I'm still allowed to commentate for the hack community stream.
Yes. If it's good rambling, then it's good. If you're going to go horribly off topic and your marathon cares about that, or your event cares about that, then it might be something to kind of vet beforehand. But generally, it's a good thing.
We need to move on a little bit so that I'm not up till like 2 a.m.
Absolutely. So now you've thought about your timelines for things. When is your event? When are submissions open? When are volunteer submissions open and close? When do you need to review games? When does your schedule need to be out? You've now gotten a very long 20-minute, almost long tangent of how to review submissions on top of how to submit them. So now you have to get.
I think that is one of the most important things.
It is. It is very important. But you actually now need to implement all of those things that you have planned for. These things that you
hate implementing.
have a timeline for. So the first one, obviously, is submissions. You need to have a platform or a location or something to take submissions in. And luckily, in this day and age, we have tons of choices. I'm doing the hand emotion thing. You can't see me, but I'm doing it. So
behind door number one,
we have Oangus. It is relatively newish. Past 2 or 3 years, give or take.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good platform. It has, its quirks just like every other way to, accept submissions, but it does its job very well. And it is something the community has talked about for many, many, many years, that outside of marathons hosting submissions on their own personal sites, that's a good choice. So your second option
Angus is my personal favorite. It is not perfect, but there is no platform that is perfect.
Yeah, there's never going to be a platform that's perfect. Absolutely. So
False.
Oangus is a choice. You also have Google Forms. Everybody is free. Everybody can use it. Everybody's used it for a very long time. You absolutely can do so. Some events choose to do it just because they're more familiar with putting things directly into Excel versus using something like Oangus. Your third-ish choice, and there's obviously many more that you can come up with. You can just take submissions on Twitter or Discord. Do I advise it? No, but you can. You can have a personal or marathon website with some attempt of a pre-made submission form. So I know that the marathon no longer has it, but if you have ever been around for a Power with Pride from 2017, 2018-ish up until 2020, we had our own website that we hosted our own submission form on. So technically all the submissions came directly into us, and I exported it out to a sheet and used it that way. So
wholeheartedly do not recommend doing that if you're just starting out.
If you're just starting out.
But you do add a ton of tech work for you.
Things.
Yeah, you do have options though. So if you do have somebody on your team that is extremely tech savvy, has a website, would love to do those kind of things, go ahead. That's your bottom tier option. That's why I listed it third. It is not the easiest at all whatsoever.
I will say you should still utilize that person's skills elsewhere, and I'll get to that later.
So
put a pin in that.
And one thing that I kind of want to say about the different mediums of submission is if I really would also suggest Oangus if you're starting out, because if you're a smaller marathon and you're using Google Forms or Twitter or Discord, I feel like Oangus really has much more visibility. If you're like me, I check Oangus every day to see if there's a new marathon up there, and I don't really check Twitter all that often. And if you're gonna use a Google Form, if you check
self-care,
if you check if you essentially limit it to a Google Form or Discord or Twitter, right? Only people that are already in your Discord or happen to follow
or
you,
happen to
come across you on Twitter, they're the only people that are going to see that. Meanwhile, with Oangus, again, if you're like me and you check it every day, I see new marathons out there all the time. I see new communities on there all the time. I see people that people that I've seen in other marathon communities. They're like, oh, I wanted to start a marathon for once, and I can see it right there on Oangus, because Oangus is a public page where anyone can just see any marathon that anyone is currently planning, and so that's, in my opinion, Oangus is like the best way in order to get visibility, and to get people to submit to your runs, because again, Twitter and Discord and Google Forms, they're great, but they're only limited to the people that already know it or just happen to come across it.
This is if you want visibility, because sometimes you don't. Sometimes you do want to keep it to a Discord or just a group of friends.
That's true.
Although you can still use Oangus for that, because Oangus does have an option to make your marathon private, so it will not show up publicly. So you can still use Angus even if you don't want a ton of people to find it.
My favorite method of doing it is the unlocked Google Sheet. I've done that for multiple internal team marathons recently, and I unironically love it now.
Internal.
You need to have a level of trust with the people.
Yes, that only works if you're running something for your friends.
Yeah, if it's internal, yes.
If it's an internal organization thing, then you could do the unlock Google Sheet. And the advantage of the unlock Google Sheet is that it requires you to do about 2 minutes of work, because you have to label all the columns and then unlock the sheet. And that's it.
I think I figured out a way to do even less work. So the one internal marathon I did with 8 people, it was an invite only thing that I did. But I literally just had a channel in my Discord server called submissions. I opened it and was like, all right, give me your game, category, estimate. Go. Whatever you want to run, just tell me.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
I think that would be ultimately more work for me, because I would lose stuff in the Discord that versus I can just go to the forum.
Yeah, then again, to the point where you would want to transfer your Discord messages onto a form.
That's true. You would have to eventually do that.
Because I've done similar before for marathons.
The Eon ticket submission form is just 90% shit posting. It was very fun.
Yeah,
it was a serious mode, and then another tab without anything that you really. Your next tab is your shitpost tab, but just keep one tab. Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah. You have plenty of options. Is our point.
So
Oangus is the easiest one for sure.
So you have now decided on your platform. You pick your platform, and now you have to decide what is the most important information to go on the sheet. So this obviously deviates a little bit more towards if you're using a Google form or Discord or Twitter or your own website. Oangus has a lot of pre-made filled forms, but there are just the general things like what the run is, what the category is, what the estimate is, some important things that not a lot of marathons asked for before, but now should be doing. We should be setting the standard is things like donation incentives, pronouns. Sorry, I was trying to think of the word for pronouns. I was like, the thing you should be calling me, but I can't think of the name of it.
The words that should be used in reference to me.
Yes, thank you. Pronouns. Things like trigger warnings for things like flashing lights, high-pitched sounds, excessive blood and gore, things like that. So you can put those as optional, not optional, but you should be thinking of those as adding those as fields into your marathon submission, so you can have that information beforehand, because it is really nice to not have to call people the entire time you're reviewing everybody's submissions, because you don't know their pronouns, and then go to do all this stuff and you're have to change these people's pronouns in your head. It's really hard. But also knowing important things of if you need to put a trigger warning on your stream for excessive flashing lights or really loud sounds, or if you want to accept or deny something based on your charity that has excessive gore. I know that.
When did GDQ start doing that? I feel like it was recent.
I want to say within the past couple years. I know that we talked about it as a group for Frame Fatales, because there were games we actually couldn't. I think I was on the second games committee after we started raising money for Malala Fund, and there are actually games that we couldn't accept because of the things that the charity did or didn't want. So you have to think if you're doing an event for charity, you have to keep them in mind when you're thinking about things like that for your submissions. Does this meet the standard of the charity? You don't want to raise money for a charity that is, or you don't want to accept submissions which benefit a charity that helps people who are victims of war, and then have Call of Duty in your marathon. That seems a little really not good. That's not very good. You don't want to do that. So that's something you have to think about when you put a field for something such as trigger warnings in there, because that will give you their first flag if you're going to review that run or not. If it's something that's excessively gory and you're doing something for a women's shelter, you probably don't want to have a game that has things like that in it. So those are important things that you want to think about putting in your submission fields when you're opening your submissions on whatever platform you choose to do so.
Yeah,
That's
I will
also-
say you can kind of punt on incentives a little bit. I know some marathons will only ask for incentives after your run is accepted. I don't really recommend doing it, but you
don't
can.
either. So
Me either.
I don't recommend it, especially if you're starting off. So this is a very give and take kind of thing. So when people submit to your event and they tell you ahead of time what their donation incentives are, you can already go ahead and start planning out when you accept runs, how many incentives you'll already have off the bat. The thing you don't want to get cornered into is accepting a bunch of runs and then you ask for donation incentives and 3/4 of the runs you've accepted don't have anything they can offer for donation incentives, so you have nothing to point towards raising money for. If you're doing a charity marathon, this is obviously like in that line of thought.
Yeah.
So when you ask for donation incentives at the forefront, you are preparing yourself to know how many donation incentives to expect. Now, people sometimes will come up after the games list has come out or your schedule has come out and go, hey, I actually just thought of a donation incentive. And that's great. But you do not want to be caught with 3/4 of your schedule being incentiveless.
Yeah,
I've been there.
When you know the incentives beforehand, that can help you with the next step too, which is scheduling. I also wanted to say that the one reason that Speedfest does not ask for pronouns up front is because we go around and message every runner and ask them, because pronouns change. So, I mean, a little bit later on when you're actually putting on your event, make sure you confirm the person's pronouns because they do change.
Yeah, that was something I was going to bring up when we eventually stay on track enough to get there soon. About the actual conducting once you get there. But yeah, the Helix brings up a great point that you're going to need to check. There. You're going to need to check for pronouns several times just to triple check. And it may seem annoying to your runners, but it is incredibly courteous and it's the right thing to do.
Exactly.
All right, so you have all your submissions. Submissions are closed. You have 8,000 submissions. GDQ could never.
You have 10 people.
Great.
Also, wait, can I just say something real quick? If you're gonna put a section on Oengus or in your Google form for submission, I beg of you, please make it a long form answer. Do not put a short form answer.
Oh yeah.
Please make it a long form.
Yes.
Oh my god.
You have no idea how annoyed I get when people ask for submissions and then ask for incentives and they're like, okay, list your incentives here, and then I'm like, oh, I have to do it in 50 characters or less.
I need to do it in a tweet.
Okay,
great.
Ozmourn, I said I was
That's
sorry.
one thing I hate about Angus is that they love to give you 50 characters for things, and it's like,
so
no,
bad.
I need more. I speak so much. The words come out of my mouth, and I cannot stop them. Please give me more characters.
Brevity is the soul of wit and all, but also sometimes I'm like, hi, I actually need to explain some stuff for tech purposes about my stupid handheld console.
If you ever run into that hurdle, Payspin is free. Tell them to just link a Payspin if that ever becomes a hurdle, and then you can solve it later. Just tell people to either be like, this is too long, I'm gonna message you, or a Payspin or something, because you can't always help what platforms give you. So if you're using a pre-made platform or if you're using Google Forms and you forgot to check the long form version of it, it happens. Just tell people to message you, or if you're on Google Forms, change it to a long form answer, whatever the case is. Have a backup.
Yeah. Or the worst is when people are like, on Oengus is like, oh, can you I've had some marathons being like, oh, who's going to be your commentators? And I'm like, first off, I don't know yet. Second of all, I'm submitting 5 things. I can't name all of them in this one 50 character box.
Don't ask for commentary on the submission forms because that's so up in the air about people's availability.
And especially if
honestly, my number one tip for submission forms is try submitting yourself, and then if that passes that check, have a friend submit. If it passes that check, you're probably okay.
My advice is to remember my advice for this applies to literally everything that we have talked about or will talk about. But what you really should do is you should think about the marathons that you've been in that you liked and steal their stuff.
Yeah, so that was
all the time.
Corvin May
I've
and
stolen so many things from Calathon.
Yeah, so that's something that's also I think that a lot of people think is a very taboo thing in this community that really isn't. If you use resources or ideas from other events that are obviously not like their brand. You don't want to steal their name or their brand or anything, but like they do a tech thing that's really cool, or they do a submission thing that's really cool, or they do a Google form thing that's really cool, and you can get your hands on it to use it. We should, as a community, be helping each other.
Yes.
Like,
You officially have my permission to steal every single resource I've ever made for marathons.
yes,
except for art.
I cannot
steal art.
Yeah, I cannot tell you how many times people have seen my spreadsheets for like marathon organization or like games committee, and I've gone, this looks so cool, and I'm like, baby boo, I got you. I make a copy, I wipe all the data from it, and I send it to them.
Also, just if you're like, does anybody, you could just go in like a survey and be like, does anybody have a good way of doing this? For example, a couple of months ago, I needed to schedule something last minute, and I didn't have internet, because I usually do using a Google sheet. And I went in the Frame Patel server. I was like, does anyone have a spreadsheet for scheduling marathons? And who came to my save? What's the phrase here?
Your
Who
assistants?
saved the day for me?
Savior?
It was Varin. Varin saved the day.
Yeah, so I literally just said, hey, I need a thing. I said, I got you. It took me all of like 2 minutes to make a blank template from some other stuff I had, and I just copied and pasted some formulas, and I sent it to May.
Yeah,
So,
literally, like,
Yeah.
if Midwest Speed Fest does something you like and you want to do it, like, and you don't know how to, like, ask me. I will show you how I did it.
And if you're
absolutely.
And if you're a little bit, if you steal somebody's entire Google Doc for tech, just at the top be like, hey, this was written by this person.
Provided
Done.
by so
Oh
and
my god!
so. So
Okay,
like,
that reminds me of something. I did like 2 marathons in the same weekend, and I started setting up for both of them at the same time, or like just in that this, and I just looked at the setup guide at the same time for them, and it was quite literally the exact same setup
Yep.
form, copy and pasted.
it happens
Yeah.
so often. There are so many forms that I've made that people just copy and they just change names on
Yeah.
it, and that's fine. Like I want my resources to be used. Things I've made should be used.
The official how am I forgetting all the?
You're
We're just
doing
all
great.
forgetting terms today.
It's like 2 a.m. for you. It's fine.
Stance?
It's 12:14, but
2 a.m.
I'm in the
close
same
enough.
time zone as you. Like, I live directly south of you.
Maybe it's 2 a.m. for
essentially.
me.
It's
Whoa.
not. I know it's not.
Because it's only one for me, and I live the furthest east.
Yeah.
Any Atlantic time zone fans?
The official opinion. I don't know.
Stance?
Stance. The official stance of Dear PB is steal everything.
Yeah,
Steal
I'm gonna
everything.
mention this
Episode
later,
title.
but marathon knowledge, it's all tribal knowledge. If you're not getting it from someone else, you are reinventing something, and you don't
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So,
I haven't been around as long as people who have organized GDQ has been, but I've been in this, like, specifically marathon organizing for 8 years and been a speedrunner for 9. Everything I knew and what I used to know, all of my ideas have changed, and there are things that I've helped pioneer in this community, and then there are things that I've like literally just lifted and made a little bit better because I saw the idea and went, that looks great, I can make that better. And I have. And that's just how we all organize now. Like, a lot of the tools that we use, such as Hararo for listing marathons, and Oangus as a submission platform, were made from the needs of, you know, this community or other communities, and now have come into fruition. So if you can get your hands on tech or forms or something from another marathon, you should.
I have a lot of stuff that I've written myself to integrate with NodeCG, and I have a lot of things that I've directly stolen from asking Ray questions.
Good.
Yeah,
We were going to talk about scheduling.
yeah. So
Yeah, we need to stay a little bit more on topic because this is going to run like 3 hours otherwise.
So you've made you've closed your submissions. You have all of your submissions. Now you need to figure out what to do with them. You should 99% of the time be putting them into a Google Sheets form, unless you have Excel and everyone wants to have their own local copy. That's fine too. Kind of messy. Don't recommend it. Google Sheets, your best friend, but also your worst enemy. They suck. If you ever want a template, hit me up on Twitter @Dragorin. I will help you because Google Sheets, it blows so hard. But
You could hit me up too.
you can
honestly.
also hit up Helix. We're here to help you. But you want to put them into Google Sheets because you want a way to not only be able to look at the information cleanly, but you want to be able to have people write down their thoughts and organize and sort them in some shape or form. Not everybody works with data analytics for a living like I do, and my sheets are very over the top, very like color coded. Things move on their own. It doesn't have to be fancy. You just need something that is the bare bones minimum to help you get organized. If you can,
My sheets are a fucking disaster.
if you can like lift sheets from the community and they can show you how they work and you just make copies of them, that's great. But if you don't, you can just if you're using Owenga specifically, you can export all of your submissions as a CSV file and import that into Google Sheets. And then all the data goes and you have all the data listed. It is going to give you a lot of fluff. There's going to be some things that may not make much sense. The most important things you want to look for, obviously, are going to be the runner, game name, category name, estimate, any fields that have pronouns, donation incentives, or trigger warnings. Those are going to be some of the most important to start off the bat, because you are also going to be able to look at people's availability via Owengas in that Google Sheets export. But you could also look at their scheduling on the Owenga site. So you're going to think about that later.
Before I forget, important thing: if you're not using Owengas, please, you should absolutely request that everybody gives you their availabilities in a single time zone.
Yes, that is a great point. So on Owengas, it automatically changes it to the time zone of the event on the export. So whoever is exporting the CSV will get the time zones listed in their time zone, I believe, or the Marathon time zone. It's one of the two. I don't remember. I haven't looked at Owengas in like 2 months since my last event. But if you're doing Google Forms, or maybe sometimes even on your own website, if that's your choice, people will have many time zones listed. And I'll tell you what, time zones are not
the worst.
fun.
They're awful.
They are
just
it gets very
pick a time zone and force everyone to do the math themselves.
And if you need to, there are many resources out there which you can give people to automatically change their time zone. You could also just tell people to Google what's my time zone and time zone conversion, and they can do it themselves. It is very easy.
Yeah.
The internet is free 99. Go do it.
Every time that I forget to put a time zone in for marathon submissions, I get to somebody who submitted their time in like CEST, and I'm like, I don't know, that's a different day.
Sometimes
so-
you get people who don't specify a time zone, and then you get
Oh,
really
that's
confused.
real
Yeah,
bad. Yeah.
for sure.
Even better. People who submit their time in not your native time zone, but you have also had a daylight savings change, so now everything's off by another freaking hour.
Oh
That
boy.
sucks too. Been
My
there, done
favorite
that.
is when
Yes.
people don't tell hours and they just say like afternoon.
Afternoon
Like,
is
Oh,
Afternoon.
boy.
after morning. Like I don't want to.
Yes.
I don't want to
yeah,
be
evening.
like.
Oh, okay. So
You know,
like, go ahead, Varin. Go ahead.
I don't want the day. I don't want the light outside to get past twilight. You know, but not quite like right at afternoon. You know, I want the sun to be a little bit set. Like that. People will do that.
Should the clock strike 9 before my marathon is ended, I will be immediately cursed. And
I've seen someone in the submission form request to have their run ended by, and it's like I get it, but that makes scheduling it horrible. It's like I would like my 4-hour run to end no later than 7 p.m. It's like okay,
So you know
so
that.
just say you're available till 3.
Right.
Like,
So yeah, so then you know that you
Yeah.
can't schedule them any later than 3. And actually, I'm going to make a very small tangent, and then we're going to get back on track. You actually don't even want to schedule them at 3, because if anything goes wrong
Anything goes
and
wrong,
the
exactly,
marathon has to be pushed
yeah.
forward,
if you're marathon,
they
if
can't
your
run
schedule
until the end
slips.
time, and then you just lost a 4-hour run because
Yeah.
they're not going to be able to commit. So that's
so
bad.
dealing with the inverse of that is very not fun. So
Yep.
just make sure their availability is when they are available,
Yeah.
and not when they want to be done by.
The
And
moral
if
of
you
the
are
you gotta-
submitting to marathons, put your availability when you are willing to start your run.
And if
Yes,
you are a
that is the
marathon
point.
organizer listening to this, you should be setting the time zone standard if you're using anything other than Owengas. Owengas will always show you things in your time zone, and it will
Wait.
show them things in their time zone. So it will always work out for you. But if you're using Google Forms, Twitter, Discord, your own website, specify a time zone at which you would like things to be listed. Yes, you're still going to get people who are not going to listen and are going to write in whatever, but then you can just
Oh, I-
disregard them because
Can
they
I
didn't
just
listen
share
to the
something real quick?
instructions.
I feel like I just fell into like crazy zone. Sorry. Go ahead.
You good?
But well, I've always thought I feel like every marathon I've done, well, not everyone, I guess, but most of them, it's always been like put your availability, which is when you could start and when you need to be done by.
I mean,
okay, so
yes, but-
yeah, that's the way that I do availability as well. So like, here's
Yeah.
the thing. I just want to share a really good experience when it comes to like scheduling. And it was so I am involved in a lot of lead staffs and organizing for different marathons. But however, the only thing that I have personally um like thought of organizing myself, be the lead organizer for, is a tournament that actually SWC was a part of, the Superliminal Glitches tournament, and all of this talk about like using different sites to do scheduling, how runners and how organizers need to be scheduling time zones and stuff like that. And I'm just going to share with this group right here a Google form that I made because
We'll link it in the description.
we'll link it in the description. So uh, I'm just gonna put it in the Marathon EP cat for you guys right now. There, I put a Google form, and then I told everyone, give me your availability, and then give me your time zone. I did the math myself as to the time zone conversions. Some people literally said whenever, and I put them like, okay, so you can't complain when I put you down for whatever
I
time.
love
24
doing that.
hours.
Same
I
with
love doing
marathons.
that.
However, if you're in a position where you aren't using a site like Oangus, where you're forced to essentially put down everyone's availability, you end up with a Google Excel sheet that looks like that. There are Google sheets that looks like this.
Oh God.
Oh boy.
Okay, maybe I won't look this in the
I've-
description. I
No,
changed my
don't
mind.
look at it. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Don't look at it.
I tried doing
I've seen
this
this before.
one time,
That's
and
rough.
I decided to never do this again. And as much
Yeah,
what I do is I make one column for every day, and then I type in the day, okay, this person is available from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. this day. The next day they're available 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I do is I just start slotting people, and then like there's a point where I have like the like everything clicks, and I'm like, oh, I can just move this here, and then this can go here, and then it all works. And then I make sure afterwards to have somebody else check it, because I always make a mistake.
Yeah,
Um,
two sets of
And
hands is good.
I
for that.
Yeah.
don't super recommend doing it my way because it's extremely freeform.
Yeah.
But
It's very easy to accidentally schedule someone.
Luckily, if
where
you're using
they
Angus,
are
it yells at
unavailable.
you when you schedule
Yes.
someone.
it does
for their
yell at you, which
availability.
is why I was confused that you all were like, make sure you put your end time as the last time you could start a run, because especially if you're doing Oangus, that's not how it wants you to do it.
But that's how like
What? No,
that's
it's
how, like,
it's Angus always says that's fine.
no.
I thought it doesn't. I thought Oangus wants
Not
your
times.
run to fit within your slot.
No.
If,
The only
if my
time-
availability ends at 3 and my run starts at 2:58, Angus is like, all right, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I feel like that's what availability should be, like when you can start your
I-
run.
No, I
Personally,
feel like I personally
It's
feel
a bit.
like
It's a
But
bit
not
of
everyone
both.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
only-
I always
that's-
schedule as if you need to be done by the time that your
Yeah,
slot
that's
is
how
like you're not free
that's how
anymore.
I have always
only-
done it that way because that is you telling me like you are available from this time to this time, and if your run starts at that time, it runs past your availability because you have an obligation. If you say that you're available to 6 p.m. and you have an obligation at 6:15, obviously if your run starts
Exactly.
at 6, then you can't be there because your obligation starts at 6:15.
Yeah.
Here's
so,
my
Yeah,
advice.
that's how I
Specify it on your
form.
form.
But yeah, like if your availability is the latest time you can start, then it's kind of implicitly implied that if you start at 6, you are good to do a run at 6. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Mm,
I feel like
I don't
heavily
know.
disagree, but
I also disagree with
I
that.
do disagree. I also don't believe that's the way Oangus did it because I have full disclosure, I have never used Oangus to schedule people ever. This like the last event that I did for Speed Stuff for Charity was the first time I'd ever used Oangus. I've always worked with marathons that I've either they had a Google form or we had our own website. But it yelled at me a ton of times when I would try to move people into a spot and their run went longer than what their quote availability end quote was. So
That's what I thought it did.
Yeah,
that's
it
what
does.
it's not
I
how-
could have sworn it didn't do that.
No, it does,
Mid-spring
because-
Speed Fling had the schedule from hell.
Welcome to the gaslighting episode.
I
I'm
am
not
like
familiar
I'm
with
about to
this,
make
I
a
don't
test
know,
marathon
but-
to test this shit.
I am pretty sure because it kept yelling at me and I was like, wait, it says they're available at this time. But then I went and looked and I was like, oh, their availability ends at 4 and this run goes into 4:30.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it doesn't
What you
do
should
that.
do,
I mean,
what you
whatever.
should
We don't
do on
Collectively, we
your
don't know.
form is you should specify what you want. You should
Yeah.
either say, please put when you either when the last moment you could start or when you need to be done by.
I'll be
Okay.
honest, the
Um,
only marathon that I've seen that actually specifies your availability should end your when is the latest time you can start your run is GDQ because they specify it on their submissions portal. And I think that's like the only one that I've seen that personally does that. All the ones through Angus, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be your availability ends when your run can end.
Yeah, like I think that's also the easiest way to do it too, because you don't have to think excessively. Like if you did accept the 4-hour submission, you don't have to math the 4 hours after that. You know that they are only available from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then the latest they can start is not 2, because you want to think about if the marathon runs over. So the latest you probably want to start them is going to be 12 or 1, because if anything happens and you're an hour behind, they can still run.
I feel a lot more grounded now because I truly felt
because I do have to think about how long the run is in relation to their availability.
Like that's their availability. If they're available from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
We're moving on.
Not. Yeah. Anyway,
we're moving on.
So
what I'm learning here is that we all do things slightly differently, and that's okay.
Yeah, but that's okay. My way is the better one. All right, we're moving on.
So you have your submissions. You've looked all of them over. You have a great games list. From there, you can have 2 options. You can decide to publish a games list in which you could just accept all of them on Oangus. You can publish all of them on Twitter or Discord. You can do a stream and go, hey, here's all the runs. Or you can skip straight ahead to the scheduling phase and make a schedule and release your schedule. So you have 2 options there. If you decide to go with the first one, you need to think about, how do I want to release my games list? Do I just want to post everything except on Oangus and just treat it on Twitter? Do I want to do a stream at which I put a really great PowerPoint slideshow on and talk about how great all these submissions that we got are?
Those are my favorite. I love those so much.
Those are great. You don't have to. That's a lot of work. So if it's your first event, don't sweat it. Like, just accepting things on Oangus and tweeting in Discord about it is a-okay.
I will quickly show you how I announced the last schedule that I made.
Beautiful.
I'll post it in the thing.
Thank you.
Oh, wait. Why can I not post the... Sorry, keep talking.
Okay. So if you decide that you would not like to do a games list and you would just like to just do a schedule reveal instead, you then have to obviously make the schedule. So you have to, from there, obviously using all the pointers that we had with either Oangus or the time zones, schedule people into their respective time slots at which they are available, and then take the schedule. And then if you're using Oangus, they have a great built-in scheduling tool that allows you to build your schedule based on the games that you accept in the accept little tick box thingy, and then move them into place from a left to right column. If you're using not Oangus, if you decide you don't want to use that and you just want to post from Google Forms to Hararo, you'll need to build your schedule in Hararo if that's your choice. Build your schedule in Google Forms if you're sadistic and really just like Google Sheets. And then from there, you would post it on social media, on Twitter, Discord, Instagram, whatever you could do TikTok, I don't care, like whatever media platform you want to post it all on.
TikTok dance your schedule out.
Oh yeah.
No.
That's so cursed. I hate this.
Okay, I want to do a duet with somebody's schedule.
Honestly, it's gonna be funny to if in a couple of years we reference this episode and TikTok's dead, and then we go listen to this episode and think about TikTok and be like, remember that?
And we killed it with this app.
Yeah,
we did.
Good.
We did. We destroyed it.
Good.
It's our Barin.
Good.
Recording this episode caused a butterfly effect in which TikTok no longer exists.
We're sorry.
This episode's going
and
on
also,
TikTok in 10-second chunks, so...
That's how we're
gonna cry.
Yeah.
Have fun. No. You're gonna be chunking this for the rest of your life.
I won't get to go on dates with Swoos for a very long time because they're gonna be enamored and putting this on TikTok for the next 2 months. Good luck.
4 10-second clip in episode, upload to TikTok. Done.
He's gonna bring Vine back. We have to start chopping it up in 6 seconds.
Don't even stop. I don't want to think about Vine. Stop.
We're still mourning.
Yeah, it's very raw. Every time someone brings up Vine, I get choked up every time, honestly. So you have your schedule and you have decided to release it in whatever way that you've decided to do it, whether it's just tweeting or just in Discord or whatever. If you want full visibility, I do highly recommend that you not only post it in your own Discord and on Twitter, but you post it in other people's community Discords and other marathon Discords. Almost every marathon Discord that I'm a part of and I'm staff on, if that is the case, I have a space that is just for advertising your stuff. So if you're in a community Discord or you're in a marathon Discord or even just in a friend's Discord that has a place that you can advertise your stuff, advertise it there. The most eyes and hands that you can get on your event, the better. So now you have your schedule. It's been released. Everybody knows about it. From there, you have several things that you need to do. you need to plan what roles that you will need for your event, such as restreamers, hosts, pre-marathon tech checks, during the event tech checks, which is like basically before somebody goes on, making sure that they're, you know, actually physically present, their stream works, no dropped frames, etc. And from there, think about if you haven't already decided on when your volunteer submission should be open, you should be thinking about opening them. By the time your schedule is out, you should be thinking about opening those and what roles that you will need to be filled. And I say this because it goes exactly hand in hand with the things that you need to run the event. And the things that you need, my friends, to run your event are many things. Hosts, very important. Restreamers.
You can never have enough hosts.
Bingo.
And yet I see so many marathons that just don't have hosts.
Hosts are very important. Hosts.
That's because they're impossible to get enough hosts. It's the hardest role to
talking and waiting to talk is a lot of work. It's very tiring. Not my job.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I never do.
I couldn't relate. I couldn't relate. I love to talk too much.
I also love to talk, but I hate interrupting people unless I don't realize I'm interrupting people. Then I love to do it because I have a thought that I have to get out.
So
it's a mess.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah. So hosts are important. Restreamers, and from there that goes into another like sub idea of tech, but like just to get your general idea of roles. Then you want to have.
Okay, quick clarification. Restreamer as a term is very misleading.
Yes, that's why I was like,
I
want to elaborate on it once you've thought about like all the roles that you need to
okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm trying not to like tangent us on information because every time we bring up one point, we're just like in like 10 different directions. And I'm trying to like.
I like that. That was a good sound.
Thank you. I'm just trying to like tunnel us into talking about because like each of us have a different experience with each of these roles. So I think it'd be really great once I list the roles, other people talk, so I can stop talking. But restreamers, you also want to think about your pre-marathon tech checks and your during marathon tech checks, and they're two totally different things, which we can talk about when we get there. You also want to think about social media volunteers. If you want your event to be a little bigger, or even if you care about tweeting, you probably want people to help you tweet. And then you also want to think about my head is empty and I have no thoughts. I just blinked. I guess it's really the gist is those things are very important, like right off the top of my head that
there is, I guess the one other thing is specific, like general like infrastructure I think is important.
Yeah, so
like, that's different than tech checks, but actual stream tech infrastructure.
Having your tech stack set up.
Bingo. So those are the things that are, if you're thinking about your volunteer submissions, those are what you want to do. So once you have that set, then you can think about your own internal structure. And oh boy, that's quite, you have a lot of options, a lot more options than we used to have back in the day. And I feel like obviously everybody else is going to have ample opportunity to chime in about their methodology and the way that they like to unfold their stacks of what they need to do. But
let me know when I get to just rant about tech for like 20 minutes.
I also
I'll just hang out until then.
Soon.
I'm not gonna have. There's a reason I'm not the tech person for Midwest Speed Fest.
There's a reason I'm the tech person for PSRD.
Yeah.
Same sort of.
So
yeah.
So for your general infrastructure of how you want to pre-marathon execute to get your actual marathon day and marathon getting going, you want to have your idea of what your stream process is going to be, and you have a lot of choices. You can have one person host the entire setup on their computer and everybody remotes into their PC, and you just unfurl everything from there, which we can talk about that in depth at some point, maybe not right this second. You can have multiple people have the stream run from their computer, and you just cut the stream and then restart the stream when you switch streaming people, which I called restreamers earlier. Or you can, and this is my favorite, and I love doing this, is you get a bunch of your friends over to your house. Obviously, this is idea from pre Global Circus times, and I'm sorry we can't probably do this right now. But get a bunch of your friends to come hang out at your house for the weekend or whatever, and you all take turns restreaming. That is fun.
Oh, that sounds so fun.
It's the best, especially when you have like a bunch of local friends. It's so great. But you have several.
Who would do that?
Yeah, I could never see that happening.
You have several options. So, there's a lot. There's so much, and I could talk for literally this entire hour and 20 minutes that this podcast has been going so far. I could literally spend double that time explaining tech stack to people. Am I gonna do that? I might not have time.
Maybe. It's a bonus
Okay,
episode.
like,
Talking about tech for another 2 hours.
Wait, is this a bonus?
Subscribe on Patreon to get a bonus episode of me talking about
we'll have
Marathon.
another bonus.
I
God,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I do want to say.
I don't want to hide the tech episode behind paywall. I want people to be able to access it.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
this
I
might
guess that's true.
This is gonna be a multi-parter for sure.
Yes,
Oh,
I like that
There's
idea.
a good.
though.
There's a good chance that we record about like an hour 40 right now, and then we have to be. Then we reconvene in the
We
future.
fall
I'd be happy
asleep
with
and
that
then-
because I'm
I
losing
would.
a little bit.
Would
I
be
like
the
this
Yeah,
as well.
So
I do want to say something about what Varin was saying. Like, there's so many different options for like the way you should like stream, but at the same time, that's also the reason why restreaming is probably my least favorite version of least favorite volunteer role, because it like without fail, every single marathon that I go to, I have to relearn restream because somehow, some way, every single marathon has a different method of doing it.
Everybody is doing their own
There's like
thing.
two.
That's a lot.
There's like two. There's two
There's
major
like
ways
two,
of doing
but each
it.
one has like 10 different
your
subways.
your stack variants
Yeah,
and the,
your stack is different,
Yep.
but there's two major ways of doing. All right. This is now Maze Tech Corner. We're getting into it now.
There's the
So
low tech way.
Yes, there's the low tech way and there's the high tech way.
Yes.
The low tech way is essentially you have everybody stream to their own Twitch channel, and then you do a window capture of the stream.
you slap that
Which
into
is
OBS.
which is a way. It's a way.
You can do that with more extra steps to make it cleaner, but that is like when people say that they're doing Twitch restreaming, that is what they're referring to.
Yeah, and that's
the other
totally
thing
fine.
You can do, which is totally fine.
It's a valid
The
way.
other thing you can do is you could start up your own RTMP server, which is the protocol for streaming. So essentially, you start up your own like streaming server, and you give out your stream keys to people, and then you put that stream directly into your OBS.
Another
with a
valid
very
way.
many methods that are a little complicated to get into, but there are much documentation out there to do so. So
Yeah. And where this gets complicated is usually around audio, because
haunted.
the easy way to do audio is you just have the runner have all of the audio on their end. You just make sure that their Discord is coming out. You just do everything through Discord. You make sure that their Discord is coming out through the stream, and that's super easy. You could just like have them stream all the audio to their Twitch, and then do a window capture of the Twitch. Great, you got a marathon or tech stack. You're done.
Yeah.
But the reason why people don't do that is because you run into a lot of issues, specifically with if you don't control your own audio, then if anything goes wrong with the audio, it is extremely awkward.
Oh yeah,
balancing
like,
is very bad.
for sure.
Balancing is bad. You have to like interrupt the runner to be like, hey, we can't hear something.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't actually recommend doing that.
Oh, yeah,
but it is
definitely.
easy. And if you don't have anybody on your if you don't have anybody who's actually particularly tech savvy, you can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it for marathon, or I've been involved in marathons that have done it. But you actually the easy the halfway thing that I recommend, that's what I do, is you have the runner broadcast their audio out through their stream, and then you capture everybody else on Discord yourself, and then you sync up you set a delay on the Discord audio so that to match the delay in the video, and then all the audio is matched up.
Exactly.
That is a good middle ground, I find, because you could essentially control the runner feed and then all the individual runners' audio. You have control over everything, but you're not doing like GDQs extremely complicated. Every single commentator has to broadcast to a Twitch
To an OBS.
stream.
As someone who's touched GDQ's audio board for Brave with Elements, it is very nice. It is very nice.
Yeah, but it's also very expensive
and complicated. So
and
Oh yeah,
complicated.
Yeah,
There's-
it's so
I
confusing.
think like it's a pretty high quality option, but at the same time, quality comes at a price. At the same time,
Yeah.
and
Quite literally.
I will admit, I feel like that middle ground of like having everyone else that isn't the main person on stage or on screen being captured through Discord. I feel that's a really healthy middle ground because I have had it where like some commentators are not like able to properly like stream
Yeah.
they don't have like the internet or the machine necessary to stream, but they do have the machine necessary to like record or to just hop into a Discord
the
screen
Discord call.
or Discord call or something like that. And on the other side of the spectrum, and this has happened to me before, I was in the middle of a marathon run. I believe it was actually just after like Etchi and Korame did a run for another marathon. I forgot what the name was, but I had everything coming through my audio, including the Discord, where the host was going to be heard, and I forgot to put Discord as a source. And so halfway through, we're already like 15 minutes into the run. I'm just like calling for donations, and no one can hear the host. No one can hear the host at all. You can't fix that in the middle of the run because I'm already in the middle of it, and in my head I can hear the host, and so I think everything's fine. But it's that Discord option is a really good middle ground for a lot of things,
And here's your very quick tutorial on how to set this up. Is when you should always, or when you're gonna have your runners put a timer in the bottom left, a server sync timer in the bottom left of their screen. In theory, you should be making your own runner like setup layout guide or like packs, which we'll get into in the next episode, which will do that automatically. A lot of people use Kirby, CURBY, to do that. And then on your own computer, you're going to also load up that exact same website. And then you're going to go and you're going to look at the difference between the two numbers on your computer and then the stream that you're getting. And then you're going to set the audio offset in advanced audio properties in OBS to the number of milliseconds difference. And then everything will sync up and it'll be beautiful. And it seems complicated because I had to use a lot of tech words to do it, to explain it. But it's literally all you're doing is you're delaying the Twitch or the Discord audio so that it matches the amount of time it takes for the server or the stream to get to your computer.
I will say
And the
though,
easiest way to actually identify the difference is just take a screenshot of both your timer and their timer.
Yep,
Yes.
that's what I do.
You get the picture. Yeah.
And like I will say though, like I don't know what it is, and maybe it's just me that has this problem. Like whenever you make a volunteer do that, I somehow forget every single time how you're supposed to do it. Like even though you just explained it to me how to do it, and I've done it before, every single time that I have to do that in the middle of a restreaming shift, I always have to be reminded of how to do it because I forget
Which is
every single
why
time.
Bingo, that's something
it is
that
extremely important. Sorry.
I was gonna say that is once we're gonna get through all the like main structures of things that you need to set up. I was gonna say like volunteer documentation, but yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
So
it is very important that you have a very detailed tech document. It doesn't matter what the tech thing is; it should be written down because there's a lot of tech stuff that people have to know, and if any of it isn't written down and it only exists in your brain, then it might as well not exist.
So luckily now
tribal knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you, Scott. So there is a lot of public information from other marathons. If you have ever speedrun in someone's marathon, you have more than likely been given tech documentation on how they want you to set up your run, or if you volunteered for them, how they want you to do your volunteer role. If you just ask somebody, 99% of the time, and I guarantee you, because a lot of us we want to help our community, we will help you change our documentation and give you a copy of it so you can just insert your own name into it and use the exact same documentation. And if you want to set up your event exactly the same way, go ahead. You should.
And
I will include a link to the PSRD online tech manual in the description, and you may feel free to steal anything you want from this. Except for the logo, because that's ours.
Yeah,
don't steal
I
art.
mentioned this earlier.
Don't steal art.
Don't steal people's brands. You can't do that. Make up your own brand. But
Don't steal the art.
I will steal the fourth character on the 15th line.
How could
beautiful. It's all yours.
That's
Helix.
I don't even know what that would be.
That's a
Probably
that is a
5,
lawsuit
6,
waiting to
7,
happen, Helix.
8,
How could you?
most likely to
9,
be
10,
E.
11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, see, this is
If
confusing.
it's
I'm
Ian,
so
just
glad you
scream.
can count. So glad.
You can count.
It's arguable because there's a line that is like is just used to point to something in a picture. So it's
This
kind
is
of
the
like a
worst
caption.
tangent we've gone on.
Okay, sorry.
I'm
It's
sorry
either
for making it true.
it's either S or H. If anyone was wondering.
Beautiful. Those are
For
great
those
letters.
wondering what Helix just stole.
Great letters. Very, very helpful.
God.
Back on track. So you have decided what your primary volunteer role should be. You have decided how you're going to restream. From there, you need to think about because what restreaming is the biggest hurdle because it is literally the bread and butter. It is how your event is going to happen. If you decide that you just
Can I
want
do
to
one more tangent?
Yeah, go ahead.
1 second.
Sorry. A weird, confusing thing about marathon lingo for some reason is that restreaming both means like that the role of like being the tech on call person, and also means the way of streaming where you where somebody streams to Twitch and then you stream from their Twitch. I don't know why it means both things.
Yeah,
but like
we just
it's
don't
confusing.
have a better way of because
I always call it just the tech person.
So yeah, it doesn't matter what you call it. Like you can call it whatever you like. But
yeah, but I just want to make it clear that like there are two different things that we are referring to, and it is confusing, and you're right to be confused.
It is
And
confusing.
can I just say something about the documentation real quick? It like to me, it does not matter if you think everyone on your team knows what they're doing. I always act like there's at least one person or at least one runner or one volunteer or one staff member that is doing this for the first time, because chances are there is someone that's doing this for the first time and they will need an explanation on how to set things up. Do not assume that people know what they're doing, because people forget.
I'm gonna agree with that, but also I'm going to change the wording of that. Assume nobody knows what they are doing. You always want to write your documentation and have documentation for roles, assuming you are explaining this to somebody who has never done it before. Because 99% of the time, and especially with Ozmourn's tangent earlier about how restreaming is different, you might have to teach somebody your way of doing something versus how they know how to do it.
Yep.
So you need
Because
to write these things in a way that you assume nobody knows what the heck you're talking about and has never done it before.
If you don't, you get the last ticket or the last marathon that Eon or that PSRD put on, where Zell and I did tech on call for pretty much the two of us for 3 days straight.
And you don't want that. So you have...
It was fine, but I don't recommend it, but it's fine.
Yeah. You have your restream idea figured out, your streaming method, and on top of how you would like to restream, picking up render streams into your own stream and goes out to Twitch and or YouTube or whatever platform you like. From there, you need to documentation. So when we say documentation, we mean the way in which you give your instructions to the people who need to do the roles for your event. And those various roles, again, are streaming/restreaming, hosting, pre-marathon tech checks. During marathon tech checks, it can just be called runner setup if you'd like to. That's kind of the proper split lingo. Then social media, if you choose to do so. And if you have a big enough event that you need to do something like donation, what do you call it, like betting or whatever, what would you call that, like donation stuff or whatever. Some events are big enough that I've worked on events that
there's a donation process.
Thank you. I can't, English is my first/second language. I'm still not good at it. Thank you.
And also, which is a thing that I think more marathons should do is runner betting. You need to.
You should vet your runners. You should look at your runners' Twitter accounts.
Bingo.
Please
make sure that you're not putting on racists or anything or bigots.
That is a good step to do during the games committee process, and I say this because it sucks. It sucks so bad. I have literally cried over scheduling because somebody comes up to us and is like, hey, I saw this person submit to your event and your schedule isn't out yet, and I wanted to let you know that they're a piece of shit. And you're like, oh man, I had them in the most prime time slot and they had such a great game, and now my schedule is frickin' ruined because this person's a racist crapple. Like, that sucks. You should be vetting your runners' social media and or Discord posts, if you have them in public Discords if it's possible, during your games committee process before you release your schedule, because not only does it suck to have your schedule like already mostly built and then find out somebody's awful during that process, it sucks even worse when you get the schedule out and then people have to go behind you and be like, hey, by the way, I don't know if you knew that this big dirtbag on Twitter is in your event, but like he's in your event, and then it makes you look like you don't care, and that sucks.
Yeah.
Because if you forget that step, it looks like you don't care.
Or the worst of the three, which is nobody tells you, and then the event happens, and then you learn about it on Twitter during the event.
That's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite. Or the fourth option, someone does something during the event and you have to take their run out and you have to replace them with somebody else. Had that happen.
That one's not so much.
It's not as
necessarily
common,
your fault.
But yeah, it's not your fault, because if they do something during the event, then you have to like retroactively take them out. But that's why you have backup lists, which I think is something that is important to think about during like a games committee kind of thing. But honestly, if you're using this information to just start out a marathon from scratch, you've never done this before, your backup list is important, but honestly, most of the time you're going to be lucky to get enough submissions to fill in the time that you want if you're starting from scratch and you don't have good reach. It just ends up like that sometimes, and you shouldn't have your expectations that you should get hundreds of submissions and you're going to have plenty of backup. You might only get enough to barely fill your schedule, and I've been in that situation, like either back in the day or even just helping people start new marathons, where there's just, it's at a bad time, or not enough people are free during that time, or we just didn't have a good enough reach and we barely met enough submissions to even fill the event, much less have a backup. So
all right, so looking at time, I think we are gonna need to call this part 1 of the marathon episode.
Oh dear, there's gonna be 2 parts. I love it.
There's gonna be another part. We're not done yet because we all talk a lot. We all talk a lot. We haven't even like started our hypothetical marathon yet.
Yeah.
We like just put out a schedule. We still have like 2 months to go. We can just, honestly,
this is why we told you all to give yourselves 4 months.
Yes, everyone said 3 to 4 months in shock, and then I went, "Oh, look and behold, there's a lot that goes on."
3 to 4 months is so much time when you can just throw it together in 4 days.
No,
hey, so our marathon's next week.
Good luck. Have fun.
Leave them on a cliffhanger for part 2.
I made the layouts for Face My Heroes the night before.
I've been there, done that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, next time we will talk about more into tech stack stuff and during the marathon and post marathon stuff.
Just so that people don't forget. I don't want people to like listen to this episode and then like walk away and then like between this episode and the next one forget where to find all of you. So why don't you just quickly shout out yourselves, give a couple social links, you know the drill.
Let's start in the order that we introduced ourselves, Ozmourn.
All right, I guess I'm going first because once again I am the most important person, in my head at least. So
that's called self-care too.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I'm Ozmourn. You can follow me on Ozmourn on all social medias, mainly Instagram. I don't post there, but you can follow me on Ozmourn on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch. All Ozmourn. So, and if you are interested in seeing how I fare as an organizer, join the Superliminal Discord. You'll see how I struggle there sometimes. But Swoosh knows all about it.
Doing great.
Thank you.
I'm Helix. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter. Those are my main 2 platforms at Helix13_. I'm also on YouTube. I'm even on TikTok, sort of. I post monkey ball clips once in a while. If you're interested in seeing how I fare as an organizer, check out Midwest Speedfest at MW Speedfest on Twitter. Twitch.tv/Midwest Speedfest, all one word. It's not just me running that event, thank God. Shout out to all of our other staff. They help a lot. You're going to want multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all I got.
No marathon is an island, as they say.
Yes. I'm Varin. You can find me online in very many platforms. I'm mostly on Twitter and Twitch at Dragorin, DRAGO, capital R, that is important. The number 1, not I, it is the number 1 in. I shitpost on Twitter. I'm sorry. I try to like tweet about like silly stuff, political stuff, and then speedrunning stuff as much as possible, and probably Final Fantasy 14 stuff. I'm sorry if you looked at my Twitter beforehand, but It is probably the best public platform that I have that if you are ever interested in starting a marathon and would like some ideas and resources, or even just like Google Sheets of documentation, feel free to reach out to me. I do believe my DMs are open to everybody. They should be, but if they're not, bump my numbers up. Give me a follow so you can DM me so I can feel good about myself. And if you would like to see how I fare as a marathon organizer, we are no longer carrying on the first fast event, but Speed Stuff for Charity, SS4C, is hosting an event in September. So follow us on Twitter, Speed Stuff for Charity, and on Twitch.
Speed Stuff for Charity is really good.
Yeah, thank you. I do like
I
it a lot.
commentated in it, and I had a good time.
Yeah, big fans. I'm also a big fan of. I also volunteer for Midwest Speed Fest, so if you would like to know what it's like volunteering for them,
Midwest Speed Fest is cool.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although Helix, I still haven't forgiven you. I didn't tell you, but I told Varin about this, but the last event you scheduled me for a time that was like 10 a.m. in the morning, and I checked my availability. I did not put myself at 10 a.m. in the morning there at all.
Oh, no, that's my bad. That schedule was messy. I need to do better next time.
No worries.
It'd be like that.
That was a bad volunteer schedule. I screwed that one up badly.
At the time of recording, PSR Diversity's Springtide Storm Marathon has not occurred yet, but at the time of release, it will have just ended.
Oh.
And I will assume it went very good, and nothing went bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I believe in y'all.
I am completely prepared for it right now. I have not been procrastinating at all.
I believe in you.
And so, it will be good.
Yes, I believe in you.
I just finished the layouts. They look really good.
Congrats. I think
Except for they're not actually quite done
It's
because
really
I need
neat.
Swift to give me some more art.
that Speed Stuff for Charity will be the week after Midwest Speed Fest. It's usually like that, but
Yeah,
it's
we
neat.
we apparently always choose Labor Day weekend. It is my first year as staff there, but that is what I have been told that the September event is always the Labor Day weekend.
Yep.
So
And then we always
Y'all-
get like, because we're affiliated with 2DCon, we always get like the last weekend in August. So our events end up on back-to-back weekends.
Y'all want to peep the layouts?
And
absolutely.
hopefully one day I get to the point where I am also organizing a marathon of my own.
Hit us up. You have all the resources.
know.
You're in this
You
call.
let me
Like
know.
we got you.
You want
Yeah,
some
right.
monkey ball? I get you some monkey ball.
So this is what at the end of the next episode when we'll announce Dear PB Thon.
Oh, that's a lot of commitment.
That is
Oh my
an
gosh.
extreme amount of
That's
commitment
We will-
terrifying.
that I'm gonna feel obligated to
not-
help with.
Me too.
We will not
Why
be
are you
doing that.
this?
Yeah, me too.
We
I
have
don't
to
know
set-
if I want to.
We have to set the.
I am way too busy
Anyways,
to do another
we'll see.
marathon. I've put on 3 in the past 2 months. It's too many.
We'll
Oh my!
see
How
that
do you do
goes.
that? Oh,
And
it's like
I-
this. Yeah. Okay.
and
Go
By
away.
not-
Goodbye, everyone. Go away. Come back next time.
By doing
Oh,
it's bad
okay.
choice. Don't put on 3 marathons in 2 months.
We're leaving
It's bad.
already?
do it.
Oh no.